Okay. Everybody ready for another barrel full of Daryl? I believe I am. Oh, get a little stinky in this barrel, though. I may have to do something about that. So, as you may know, I am your host, Daryl, and I discuss music, movies, and throw in a little bit of mirth. Now, for each show, I select an artist or band and a movie that's personally significant to me. You may not be familiar with my selections, but that's why I am discussing them. Get you some exposure. So here we go. Let's start with the music as we normally do. Today, I will discuss with you the genre disco music. Disco sucks. End of discussion. So, my real artist today, there's a man named Sylvester Stewart, and he's better known as Sly Stone, who formed a band called Sly and the Family Stone. Yeah, I know I'm taking you back to the 1960s again, but put up with me, please. You need to hear about this man and his band. Now, Sly passed away a few days ago on June 9th, and reading about his death brought on a rush of memories, and I decided to discuss them. So, at the age of 16 in San Francisco, Sly was a radio disc jockey and a music producer at the age of 16. And he was also a songwriter and he played multiple instruments. So he and his siblings were raised in a church going family and they all sang in the choir and played keyboards. Now, he and his brother each had a band, high school band, and they decided to merge into what became Sly and the Family Stone. Sly's sister, Rose, was also a member, thus the band name. Now, this band was very unusual at this time, as it contained 5 men and 3 women, and it was also interracial, a mix of black and white. And their instruments included a small horn section, which was an oddity at that time. They were together from 1966 to 1983 and released 10 studio albums and 19 singles. They were pivotal in the development of funk, soul, R&B, and psychedelic music. Now, I'll tell you, their sound was very original. No one had ever heard this sound before. I need to point out at this time, 1966, there was much unrest in the USA due to the Vietnam War and racial discord. So there were protests all over the place, kind of like what we're seeing now. This is also when the Black Panther Party was founded. I'll not go into any details on them, only to say that they demanded that Sly replace the white members in his band with black ones. Sly refused, thankfully. So, about their musical style, the best way for you to appreciate their style is by listening to the songs that I have added to the playlist. And you can really tell that their experiences in the church choir played a large part in what became their sound. Also, each of the 4 vocalists sang and often sharing lyrics within songs, and that's very unique for that time. And there were often vocal interjections as well. Basically, their songs are an oral party. Yeah. Now, the song Dance to the Music was released in 1967, and it was a widespread and groundbreaking hit, reaching number 8 on the Billboard. They had another single, Everyday People. It was released in 1968, and that one became their very first hit. Many other hits followed, including Stand, I Want to Take You Higher, and Hot Fun in the Summertime. Now, in 1969, they performed on the final day of the epic Woodstock Music and Art Festival. So this band was becoming big, uber big. One journalist was quoted as saying that James Brown invented funk music, but Sly and the Family Stone perfected it. They were an influence for many bands, including Prince and a band called the Ohio Players. Regarding the latter, they were famous during the disco era, and I believe that Sly's music also inspired some disco bands. Yeah, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit saying that. Now, following their huge success, Sly decided to move the band to LA in 1969 in order to be closer to the music industry. Well, what this turned into was a party that lasted a few years with much alcohol and drug use. Sly became addicted to cocaine and can be seen carrying around a violin case filled with the stuff. Now, this resulted in him missing about a third of their concerts and being very late when he did show up. Now, you can imagine the discomfort within the band, and eventually the drummer up and quit. So the band only put out one single during this time, and the record company reissued some of their older stuff and released a greatest hits album to appease the fan base. They eventually released 3 more albums from 1973 to 1974, but none of them achieved the acclaim of their earlier stuff. So in 1975, they booked themselves at the Radio City Music Hall in New York City. Well, the attendance was low with only a few hundred people showing up. It was basically a flop. So the band had to scrape together money just to get home. And shortly afterwards, the band broke up. Now, Sly continued with his drug addiction and continued to write, record, and release music, but it mostly went unnoticed. Sly began doing TV appearances and performing in commercials, but basically he had become insignificant. He died at the age of 82, but he had gained sobriety and reunited with his family. He has been called a black genius, and his band had a big impact on later bands and genres. And they really are a blast to listen to. Also, tip from my friend Kenzie, there's currently a documentary on Hulu which really showcases the band. It's now ironic that the title of the film is Sly Lives. R.I.P. Sly. Okay, and now it's time for a word from our sponsor.
Well, I don't know what to say anymore. I mean, I'm the only damn burger here in Scratchankle, so why should I have to pay money sponsoring a podcast that nobody even listens to anymore? So I think I'm just gonna give it up. Yeah, go ahead. Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off.
Okay, we're back. Now let's talk about a movie. The movie of the day is called Best in Show. It was released in 2000, and it is a mockumentary film written by Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy. And it was also directed by Christopher Guest. This is a very funny comic movie. Very great cast. Now, the film follows 5 entrants as they travel to and compete in the prestigious Mayflower Dog Show in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy star in this film, along with an amazing cast, including Jennifer Coolidge, John Michael Higgins, Jane Lynch, Michael McKean, Catherine O'Hara, Fred Willard, and Parker Posey. Now, most of these actors were also in Christopher's 4 other mockumentaries, such as Waiting for Guffman and A Mighty Wind. So the 5 entrants include Jerry and Cookie Fleck, played by Levy and O'Hara, who travel from Florida with their Norwich Terrier, Winky. Now, Meg and Hamilton Swan, played by Posey and Hitchcock, 2 yuppies from Chicago, and they have their Weimaraner, Beatrice. Harlan Pepper, played by Christopher Guest, travels from North Carolina with his bloodhound, Hubert. And Sherry Ann Cabot, played by Coolidge, and her handler, Christine Cummings, a butch lesbian, played by Lynch. They head to the dog show with their award-winning standard poodle, Rhapsody in White. Now, Scott Donlin and Stefan Vanderhoof, 2 gay men played by Higgins and McKean, attend the dog show, and their dog is a Shih Tzu named Miss Agnes. Now, the dog show is hosted by, 2 co-hosts. Trevor Beckwith, with color commentation by Buck Laughlin, played excellently by Willard. He indeed has some of the best lines in the film, and his comments are not only colorful, but often kind of dark. Now, the journey that each entrant goes through is even better than when they reach the actual dog show. For instance, Cookie keeps running into old boyfriends everywhere they go. These boyfriends recognize her and they tease her, much to Jerry's chagrin. Also, when they arrive to check in at the hotel, their credit card gets declined. The guy at the desk says, we could take American Express. And Jerry says, oh, good. And he starts digging through his wallet. He says, we don't have any American Express. So they end up staying in a storage closet. Now, the hilarity in this film is nonstop. Much of the script was ad-libbed, and the actors really brought their characters to life. My hat is off to Christopher Guest for writing his awesome scripts and for employing top-notch comedic actors. By the way, Christopher Guest also starred in the mockumentary This is Spinal Tap, which he co-wrote. That's another very funny movie. So I hope you will find it, stream it, watch it, and enjoy it, and laugh. So the word of the day is Kansas. Yes, we all know it's a state. but its name derives from the Native American tribe Kansa, meaning people of the wind. Now, it never ceases to amaze me all of the states and cities that are named after Native American tribes, such as Miami, Nebraska, Illinois, etc. Personally, I think this is awesome. Joke of the day. Anybody want to hear a joke of the day? No? Oh, come on. Okay. What happens when a microscope crashes into a telescope? They kaleidoscope. Didn't like that one, huh? Well, here's another corny one for you. What do isosceles triangles do when it's raining outside? They coincide. You may have to think about that one a little bit. Question of the day. First, we will discuss the question from the last time we were together. And it is, how many different atmospheres has the Earth had? So, according to science, there have been primarily 3 distinct atmospheres. The first, when the Earth was first formed, was composed only of hydrogen and helium, whose molecules move very fast, especially when the environment is hot, which it was. Now, these molecules eventually moved fast enough to escape Earth's gravity, and they went bye-bye. Now, the second atmosphere came from the Earth itself and was caused by basically a buttload of volcanoes that were present at this time. Many more volcanoes than what we currently know. Now, these volcanoes released water in the form of steam, carbon dioxide, and ammonia. Yeah, still pretty unbreathable. So atmosphere 3 is the one that we know and breathe today. So where does oxygen come into play? Well, there are simple forms of bacteria that developed way back when, and they thrived on CO2 in the water, and oxygen was their waste product. So we are basically inhaling fecal matter. So here's the new question of the day. What caused the formation of the Rocky Mountains, and when did it occur? I don't expect you to know this off the top of your head, so you may have to dig for it a little bit. So don't forget about the Barrel Full of Darrell playlist on Spotify and Apple Music. I've added some songs from Sly and the Family Stone. Again, you may contact me by clicking on the Send Me a Text button in the episodes or directly at bfodpodcast@gmail.com. So send me a request, send me a love note, just send me, okay? Well, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.